Hey, everybody. Since it's a lightning talk, I'm going to get started right at 9:30. So first of all, let me share my screen. And also, I just want to invite everybody, if you want, feel free to unmute and share your video if you want, and just jump in anytime with questions or suggestions or whatever. This can be interactive. So what I want to talk about today is a product, and it's really just an experiment that we're doing at my company, and it's called Manatee. And what it does is it's a very simple way to detect infrastructure drift. So in other words, when your resources diverge from what you've defined in Terraform, Manatee will tell you about that. Just to tell you a little bit about our company, we do software projects for the federal government in the United States. So we started back in 2013 when the US got its new healthcare law. The government needed some help getting the website up and running, and some of our people helped with that effort to fix the website. And now we do similar work building better software for government. So we used Terraform a lot in that process, and this is a product experiment that came out of our work. So instead of telling you a lot about Manatee, I just want to show it to you. I'll just show you a demo. And if there's anything unclear, again, feel free to jump in as I talk. So here, I'm on the AWS console, and I've defined a few resources. Specifically, I've got one security group here. And over here on the command line, I've got some Terraform that just models that security group. And you can see, just resize, make this a little bigger just in case. And you can see that if I run Terraform plan, everything's fine. Infrastructure is up to date, so the security group on AWS matches the configuration in Terraform. And as a developer at Corball, when this happens, what we want to make sure is that that never changes. And so Manatee helps us do that. I'm going to be using our test environment. You can actually go to manatee.app if you want to try out the product. I'm going to use our test environment for this demo, so I'm going to go to test.manatee.app. Oops, let me do it from the beginning. And so the first thing I have to do is I have to sign in, and I have to give Manatee access to GitHub so it can pull my Terraform code. All right, and now I just have to add a workspace. I can search for the workspace. It's called Manatee Demo. I'm actually searching for the repo on GitHub that contains the Terraform code. I choose that one, and now I say the directory inside the repo that contains the Terraform, and everything's in the root in this repo, so I'll just choose the root. And then I need to make a few settings. So I'll say, where do I want to get notified if some drift occurs, what version of Terraform I'm using. And then I have to give Manatee some credentials so it can connect to my AWS account and check things out. And in general, this would be any provider credentials that your Terraform uses to connect to the infrastructure. So I have a secret AWS access key here already set up. And this is a special user that I've created on AWS that has read-only access. And we recommend that folks do that because you don't want Manatee accidentally, even though it never runs Terraform apply, you wouldn't want something to go awry and for it to make changes to your resources. OK, so I'll save that now. And that's it. So now that workspace is registered with Manatee, and it will periodically check and see if there's any drift. This is probably a bit of an awkward part of the demo. There'll be a couple awkward pauses because it takes a second for Manatee to check. So I'm just going to refresh a few times. But if anybody has any questions or comments so far, feel free to jump in and interrupt this awkward pause. OK, lovely. So Manatee has run Terraform plan, and it detected no drift. And you can see down here, I get to see the output of Terraform plan. Everything's up to date. Okay, now suppose I'm, you skip into the future and I sort of forgot what was going on, or maybe I'm another team that doesn't really understand the resources but has access to it. And I'm back on the console here and I erroneously delete the security group. And in our experience, this happens quite a bit. And there's two reasons. Like, as I mentioned, there's just user error. And then there's different groups that have access to the same thing that step on each other. So I'll delete this test security group. And Manatee is running in the background again. And so here's another awkward pause, but I should get an email. So in general, I've sped it up for this demo. In general, this will happen within 15 minutes of drift occurring. So it's pretty good. That suffices for our experience. Okay, so here's the notification email. We can see that Manatee detected drift. The workspace went from no drift to drift. And here I can see the output of Terraform plan. And if I'm fluent in Terraform, I know that, okay, to get it back into compliance, it would need to add a security group. We would need to add a security group. So what must have happened is that security group got deleted. So back on the console, I can do a Terraform apply. So this will reapply my Terraform config to that AWS account. And you can see Terraform is suggesting that we add the security group, which is the right remedy. Okay. And if I go back over here to the AWS console, I can see that yes, the security group did get added. And then finally, for the final awkward pause of the lightning talk, after a few seconds, we should see another alert from Manatee that we move from drift back to no drift. Okay, there it is. And we can see that, yep, infrastructure is up to date, and now we're good. I sort of skipped this step, but if we had come to the website when there was drift, suppose that we didn't quite understand the email, we wanted to investigate some more, this would have been red. But if I refresh now, we can see that it's back to no drift. And on the home page, all my repos, which is just that one, are reading no drift, so all's good. So that's it. That's kind of an end-to-end demo of how Manatee can help you. And yeah, I just wanted to, let me pause there. Seems like a logical spot. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts?
Yeah, I have one question. Will this take into account any non-Terraform controlled resources? For instance, somebody comes in and just makes an odd security group. Will it pick that up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wanted to talk about that on the next slide here.
All right.
So there's definitely some pros to Manatee, as you can see. It's very easy. It supports all Terraform providers, and it's a very specific use case. So you don't have to like adopt a big thing to get this drift detection. But one of the cons is that it doesn't detect unmanaged resources because it's just running Terraform plan. There's another tool which actually had a lightning talk before this, which is really great, called drift control, which will actually, it takes a little more setup and it's a little more technical, but it will actually tell you, oh, there's an unmanaged resource in my account. So it will catalog all the resources. And then the next time you run drift control, it will say, oh, a new one popped up. Let me alert the person of that. So if that's a key scenario for you, I would check out drift control. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep, sure. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay, so just to sort of finish up explaining this slide, yeah, I think what we designed Manatee for was to be really simple to set up and easy to use. And so you get, it supports AWS, it supports Google, it supports all Terraform providers because all you're doing is putting in the environment variables, and anything you could feed to Terraform plan apply, you can feed to Manatee. So that's great. And what you sacrifice to get that is basically features. So it doesn't support unmanaged resources at the moment, whereas drift control, which is a really neat tool, does. And another con that we've heard from people is that because it's this hosted environment, you do have to trust Manatee to some extent. So you have to give it access to your code, your Terraform code. And you also have to share a set of read-only credentials so it can access your infrastructure. There's a lot of tools that you do this with, like your CI tool probably has access to your GitHub and your infrastructure, but you do have to reach that level of trust in order to use Manatee, whereas a self-hosted product or a command line tool, you wouldn't have to. So it's kind of a balance between these pros and cons. It depends what you need. And that's really all I wanted to go over. I just wanted to show the demo and then sort of talk about those ideas. But mostly, with the time remaining, I wanted to emphasize that Manatee is really just an experiment. And as a company, we're just trying to build tools that make people's managing their infrastructure easier. And so we would love to get any feedback on this product or other pain points or directions that you guys think we could take this product to help you. And yeah, so I guess I just open up the floor again to discussion. And if anybody has any thoughts or when I was showing the demo, they thought, oh, if he added that, that would be great. Or maybe this could be extended to that scenario. Yeah, maybe we could talk about that. We've only got a few people on the call now. We've got 6 people, so not hearing.
Yeah, I'm super new to Terraform and all that, but in our organization, we do have a lot of people that have played around in the console and built their stuff, and it's going to be our job to figure out what they did and try to turn it into Terraform code. So I know there's Terraformer and some of that other stuff out there. But yeah, I've used being able to figure out what. No, I think what John mentioned earlier, the unmanaged stuff and pulling that in is a big thing. Also, a lot of the resources that we're discovering are things that are pushed down through an AWS organization. So your IAMs for SSOs and all that stuff. So we need to have ways to make sure that certain things are ignored when you start looking at unmanaged stuff. I think your tool right now, since you're not really looking at that stuff that isn't in a Terraform code already, kind of fixes that problem right now. But as you bring in, if you do bring in the detection of unmanaged stuff, making sure that there's a good way of getting exceptions to the global stuff might be really useful.
Okay, yeah, that's really good to hear. I think the unmanaged resources is something that's more important to people than we quite realize. We usually run Terraform plan, and if there's no changes, we feel good about it. But the more we hear that, the more we realize that perhaps we ourselves should be looking at unmanaged resources more. So. Okay, well, if nobody else has any other comments, actually, let me just go back to screen sharing for 1 sec. Yeah, I would just invite you to play with the tool. You can just go to manatee.app and check it out. And feel free to, I'll write my email in here, jonah@corebalt.com. If you have any thoughts after this demo or feature ideas or whatever, feel free to email me. And yeah, I appreciate you stopping by for the lightning talk.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Have a good day.
You too.